Hey guys, Certified High Performance Coach Trisha Turns. Today I want to talk about 2 ways that you can influence and persuade at a greater level. If you watched my video yesterday on persuasion, we went through the acknowledgement piece, and that is absolutely number one. Like, that is the foundation of you being a higher level influencer this year. So I want you to think about the end of the year, like the end of 2020. What do you want? Who and what? Maybe it's a group of people. Maybe it's one person in particular. Like, who are you not persuading and influencing now that you know and realize that you need to be more? Like, who have you kind of like been avoiding maybe, or who do you recognize needs more support right now? Whether it's in your business or whether it's outside of your business. Because the number one piece is acknowledgement, right? Is building that trust factor and acknowledging where that person is and what they're struggling with, what their needs are. Because here's the thing, like, as a business owner, when you know what it's like to feel like you can't get something across, right? You're trying to influence your staff to do a particular thing or run a particular project a certain way or be a certain way or do something, or you're trying to get them to act in a certain way or think like you in a certain way. So yesterday I had a client that came in super frustrated to the call because something had happened that day yesterday, and they were like, I just can't figure out why I can't get them to think like me. Why can I not get them to be able to create a sense of urgency? And that was the thing, is they wanted their staff to create this sense of urgency as much and as well as he does. And he couldn't get them to do that. And so it's super frustrating, right? He was frustrated. He was pushing through the day, and then it was ruminating throughout the next couple of hours, and he couldn't get himself to like stop thinking about this because he was really frustrated. It was not a good situation for him in the day, right? And this happens quite a bit. Like, there's a couple of different aspects there. One is that self-control, that self-mastery of being able to flip the switch so that you don't spend hours downward spiraling, I call it, about a certain thing that was frustrating in that day. Because you could easily take up the entire day. How many people are guilty of that, right? Take the entire day to just ruminate on this like ridiculous thing that happened, and all of a sudden you're building it up to be bigger than it is, and it's destroying your sleep at night. It's destroying the way that you focus during the day, right? Like, all of that. So if you can go into conversations and attack them, right? And you can be of influence in that way as well. So there's a couple of ways here. There's more than two. There's the acknowledgement piece, which watch yesterday's video for that piece, so that you can gain trust with them and they don't go in the defensive mode, right? Because you have that a lot of times. And the other way is to, the second way that I wanted to talk about today was to really think about who has influenced you in the past. Like, of what people, hey John, hey Marissa, what's up guys? If you guys would, I would really appreciate it if you would comment below and talk about somebody that influenced you and why they influenced you. Like, this group think in here is really important, and I really appreciate if you would do that, because it gets other people thinking about, wow, that really does influence them. On my personal page, I just talked about an example of this, of a client of mine that realized because when we work together in this influence session in the 90-day program I run, we go through the influence session a couple of times in different ways. And one thing that I like to take clients through is to think of somebody that was like of super high influence to you and what made them so, right? Like, what created them, what made you just be drawn to them in terms of influence. For me, it was like the level of skill of someone. It was like the level of mastery that, like, for me, his name is Bob. He's no longer on this planet, but he passed away a couple of years ago. But he was a master of every single craft that he would dig into books. He would dig into education. He would reach out to people to just learn, like, at a crazy level. And I was always like, holy shit, So when I wanted to learn photography, he had a dark room. He took me into the dark room and just showed me every little nook and cranny of the dark room and how to do it, right? Like, literally in the dark, he's taking my hands and showing me how to fill some of the stuff, right? Like, really crazy stuff. But he was so intricate in that. It wasn't just that he did photography. He did photography on every camera imaginable. He did photography in every way, shape, and form of it. Like, he had a darkroom in his basement, for crying out loud. Like, that was just that. No, people no longer really have that kind of shit. And so for me, that was something that was really intriguing. So when I look at myself as being a higher influencer, like, I try to be damn good at everything that I do. I bring out the best of what I do. I research the crap out of it. When I don't know something, I reach out for support because I want to be of influence to my staff and to my team so that they can see how depthful I go into things to make sure that I understand a certain subject. Like right now, I'm working with one of our, if you guys know, I used to own gyms. I'm working with one of the gyms right now on their marketing, and really like looking into marketing from a different perspective and leveling it up a little bit. Trying new things, like what was not working, what is working, like, and just working through them with that. And that, to me, I want someone to look at me and say that, yeah, wow, she's in it, like she's dedicated to this project with us. Like, and yesterday I got a note saying like, wow, I really appreciate and thank you, like, for helping us so much this past month, because, you know, I've learned a lot and yada yada. And that's what it's all about, right? It's like coming together as a community to create something really grand and big. But one of my clients, when I ran her through this session, her person of influence was a mentor in the same industry as hers. And she said that when she would come into the room and go into this woman's business, this woman would always, every single time they met, instead of going into anything they were going to talk about, any meeting, anything like that, any talk of like what's going on in your world, it was, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? It was looking at her as a human being, like making sure that she was taken care of from just a biological level, right? Like a humane level. There was nothing else considered. It was creating a really awesome environment for them to sit down, and instead of just digging into all the problems that are going on and helping her with those things, it was like, have you eaten today? Like, have you had any water today? Like, do you want a cup of tea? Like that for her was super influential, and she was not doing that with her staff. So she's like, oh my gosh, like that changes everything, because she has a store where she can do that. And that's so cool. Like, she gets to open up that world and now offer to her staff a different form of influence when she's trying to persuade them or influence them, or if they're sitting down for a conversation to learn a new project, or they're in a team meeting. Instead of just starting the meeting and going into it, it's like, hey, are you guys hungry? I brought some whatever. Or, hey, do you guys need to get a sip of water real quick before we start? Do we need to make some tea? Maybe it's already made and it's ready to go. So just some things to think about there. And then I guess the third piece that I mentioned is this self-mastery piece, where when you are an influence and it doesn't go your way, and you're trying to persuade someone of something and it doesn't go your way, your ability and your level of ownership of your mood and your energy is critical. It's critical. And I'll be honest, a lot of you, it's hard to hear, but a lot of you are not in control of your energy right now. And it can be detrimental to the way you show up and influence. They go hand in hand. If you can't control your energy, if you can't get your workouts in because you know your mood is up here versus down here when you get your workouts in the week, like if you can't manage your agenda like that and know that if I don't get my workout in, I won't show up as well, or I know that if I wait until 2:00, I'm going to be ravaging, starving, and when I get home, I'm going to be a hangry person, like, do I want to show up to my family like that? Like, there are things that you can do, actions you can take to shift your energy. And so when it comes to influence, you need to bring your freaking energy. You need to bring it way more than you did last year. And so for you, what does that look like? Like, if you were to find something, whether it's a 90-day program with me or whether it's someone else that you find that you resonate better with, if you were to do something like that this year, what would the end of the year look like? What kind of meaning would it bring to you if you could do a particular thing? Like, what's that one thing that you want to accomplish this year, and how meaningful would it be if you could do it with your utmost energy, right? It's crazy. Like, you might as well enjoy the process. You might as well have fun doing it. You might as well, like, have some free time and put some self-care time to yourself, right? And be able to do it with complete ease. Be able to have a team meeting and just kick ass and have everyone have a good time. But you can't do that in your staff and your team if you're not growing within yourself to do that, right? You have to be able to grow your level of leadership and your level of influence and your energy and be able to manage it and own it in order to be of influence. So I hope that is good for you today on this Friday. It's a lot in one sitting. But Marissa, John, like anybody watching, if you're watching the replay, like just write replay in there so I know you're watching it in the comments below. And if you would, write about somebody that influenced you. What about them made them so influential so that other people can see and maybe take some of the things that that they really feel and that they really could step into more and start to use them on their own. Like this is the community part that I love about this Freedom Family. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you soon.